We're here on Punch in the Face Radio with a Titan FC 30 contestant, Vinny Magalhaes. Vinny, man, first off, how are you feeling right about now?
I'm doing pretty good. I can't complain at all about anything. Training's going well. Weight's good, really well too. For my last few fights, I've been walking around 230, 235. For this one, I've been weighing no more than 225 for the last 2 to 3 months. So I'm keep on weighing my weight down. So it should be an easy weight cut and everything's just going perfect.
Now, you were going to compete here about a week and a half ago at Titan 29. You're going to be a team player and help out, after they had some altering to the card, but you end up having a kind of a minor back strain from what we're understanding. Is all of that now pretty much healed up to where you kind of back doing normal training for your next bout?
To be honest, it wasn't anything new. It was not I got injured or anything. It was I have 3 bulging discs on my back. So, sometimes, out of nowhere, it just starts to get a little sore. So I went to the doctor, and he just said that I should be taking maybe a few days off, just to kind of make it ease on my back. Then he gave me 10 days off, and I just took 3 or 4, and I went back to training because after 3 or 4 days was already feeling good. So it was more a doctor recommendation than my own recommendations.
Now, you think that was anything to do with maybe you doing a little bit too much in a short period of time? You had a bout in Mexico where you were able to tap out your opponent in the first round. You did the grappling tournament here August 9th, Metamoris against Keenan Cornelius. Do you think maybe just so much in a short amount of time and it just your body just didn't have enough time to rest up in between each of those?
Well, no. Like I say, it's not it was something that happened recently. I have bulges on my back for over a year now. So sometimes you just training too hard and end up feeling some of my old injuries, and this was one of them. And like I said, it wasn't anything that bad because after 3 or 4 days I was already feeling good and I started training again. So it wasn't anything that kept me off training, kept me out of training, or was making that next fight a bit risky not to happen. So it wasn't anything major at all.
Now, your opponent here at Titan FC 30 here on September 26th is going to be Jason Brilz. What is your early scouting report on what Jason brings to the table, and what do you think you can exploit when the time comes?
Well, I just feel him any other opponent. Anybody who fights him, they never want to take the fight to the ground. They know whenever they take the fight to the ground, they're gonna be they're gonna be in huge trouble. No matter if they're gonna be top, bottom, could it be worse if they're on the bottom, but could it be just as bad if they're on top? So I feel his best thing to do is try to keep the fight standing, use his wrestling to keep the fight standing. But then it comes to the point where I think that he's not a great striker, and I'm gonna be bad in the area too. Neither one of us are strikers, but I feel I have a slight advantage in that area. Plus, I have a longer reach. I'm taller, so all those things could be also in my favor. But I truly believe that he's gonna try to use his wrestling to keep the fight standing.
Now, do you think you have any sort of mental edge going in the fight for the simple fact of this is going to be his first title bout, and this won't be your first rodeo as far as title matches go? You won a title and even had defenses over in M1. Do you think that's something that may work to your advantage, having that history and being in title fights and being prepared to go possibly 5 rounds where he may not have ever been in that situation before?
Well, that's for sure. That's actually something I thought about it before. I was thinking about it, that's not my first main event. That's not the first time that I'm fighting for a title. Could even throw the open fighter finale out there, even though it was not a 5-round fight. It was something that was worth a little title, being the ultimate fighter. Although I didn't win that fight, that was something mentally was such a pressure. So that was the first time that was early in my career that I had the M1 fights. 2 fights, one that I fought for the title that I won, the other one that I had to defend the title, and now that's pretty much my 4th time. So it's now it's not something new. It's not something new. So for sure, I feel I also have the advantage in that area.
And speaking and fighting in the M1 Global Challenge, you fought all over the world. You're a very well-versed fighter. Granted, he may have a few more career bouts than you, but you've literally, you've done grappling tournaments, fighting around the world. What has kept you throughout the course of your career and throughout this time frame, kept you want to stay focused and stay level-headed here in mixed martial arts?
Well, like I said, I've fought in so many different places, but to be honest, I don't even like traveling so much. So hopefully I'm just gonna keep fighting here in the States, and hopefully I'll fulfill my contract with Titan and see what they have to offer after this. you know, like any other fighter, like the goal is always to be in the UFC. I've been there like twice, and I didn't take advantage of like, you know, the chance that I had like in the UFC. Ended up like losing like two fights in my first like experience in the UFC. Ended up like winning the first and losing two back-to-back fights in the second time. So now, like, you know, my plan is like to fulfill my contract. If the title makes me a nice offer, like I'll stay with them. If not, I'm gonna look to, you know, go back to the UFC if possible.
So are you going to use this pretty much this opportunity that you have with Titan FC right now to not only, you know, get fights and get paid, but also to showcase your skill set to not only to them but to other organizations for the future?
Oh, definitely, man. But like I said, you know, it's like I have like fight on my contract with Titan. So the goal is always to finish the contract and I'll go undefeated in that contract. Like, you know, have 5 fights, go 5-0. And after that, you know, like I believe that, you know, once you go 5-0 in a promotion, you're gonna have like some way like to have more power to renegotiate a contract and maybe get like a much better offer. And if that's the case, if it kind of makes my offer that's a lot better than the UFC or any other promotion, why not stay with them? You know, I'm not all about like I want to fight in the UFC, but I'll fight for peanuts just because it's the UFC. That was maybe it was cool like when I was like 21, 22, 23. But now it's not about what I'm fighting. It's about like how much money I'm making, like what I'm fighting. You know. So I would have gone to the UFC if they made me a nice offer. I would have gone to like whatever Bellator if they made a much better offer. I would have gone to ONE FC if they made a better offer. I would stay with Titan if the offer was much better than everybody else. So for me, it's not about like where I'm fighting anymore. This whole like, oh, I want to fight for the UFC so I can be called a UFC fighter. It's already like, you know, that is cool, but it's not like, you know, the main thing anymore. The main reason anymore is to fight. So I'm gonna go like to whatever they make me the better, you know, the better offer, and hopefully it's gonna be Titan. You know, since I'm fighting for the title, the idea would be to win the title and keep on defending it. You know.
Well, absolutely. Now, you know, you're one of the more vocal guys in MMA, especially through social media. And, you know, one thing you're stating here that, you know, it's not always about just where you're fighting, but it's also about the money and more the business side to it. Do you think that's maybe one of the biggest things that a lot of fighters now, maybe 5 years ago, are starting to realize more and more that there's other opportunities and there's money that can be made elsewhere outside of the UFC?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I don't know about like, you know, if there's money to be made like anywhere else, like outside of the UFC. Like before I resigned with UFC for the second time, like Bellator had an offer, and it wasn't nowhere as good as the UFC offer. And there are other promotions too. You know, we talked to it might have been on ONE FC. That was with my former manager. I think it was a ONE FC also. There was nowhere like close to where UFC made me like, you know, as an offer. So, you know, a lot of people complain about the pay in the UFC, but like it's still like in my opinion, at least for me, like directly, they have been the ones that have offered the most. That they have been the one that paid me the most. Plus, not just in the contract, they have been their only promotion so far that haven't paid me like, you know, extras, things out of the contract. Like after every single fight recently, like with UFC, my last 3 fights, I won my fight against Magalhaes. Like 2 weeks later, I got an extra check from the UFC. And then I lost against Phil Davis. I still got an extra check from the UFC. And then I lost in 14 seconds to Promotion, and I still got an extra check from the UFC. So, like, you know, a lot of people complain about the pay in the UFC. But at least as far as treatment, as far as, like, the way they took care of me, I still feel like they have been, like, you know, the best promotion. They have been the best guys to pay. So I'm not going to go with everybody else saying that they're not good at what they do as far as paying the fighters because, you know, as far as like my own experience, they have been great. So,
okay.
So for me, again, I believe that let's say I finished all my 5 fights with Titan, I believe that UFC would probably be the one to make the best offer, just based on my own experience with them that I've had like in the past.
All right. Now, you know, you're training at the Syndicate MMA training facility there in Vegas. Now, you were formerly training out of Extreme Couture there in Vegas as well. You know, what is the difference between the 2 gyms out there in Vegas from you being at one and now at Syndicate now? What do you think is the biggest the difference or maybe growth that you're seeing in yourself as a fighter since you switched gyms?
Oh, there's not much of like, to be honest, in Vegas, there's not much of like switch like teams. I'm training at Couture's. Then when I left Extreme Couture, that was when every single fight at Extreme Couture was going to Syndicate and train at Syndicate. And now the team got stronger again at Couture's, and a lot of guys went back to Couture's, and I've been bouncing back and forth like in both places. So it's not like, you know, I'm like here, I'm like representing this team. I am like, you know, I'm fighting for Syndicate, but the doors are always open for me to train at Couture. So some days I still go there and train. Like tomorrow, for example, it's Labor Day, so like, I think the gym is gonna be closed at Syndicate, and I'm gonna be going to tours. So there's no such a thing as like, I'm just like close those doors for me. I cannot go back there anymore and train. It's pretty much like, in Vegas, the way it works is more like, you go to wherever there's training for you. So at the moment, like, I can pretty much get every day at Syndicate and get trained, but some days I still have to go to tours.
Oh, right on, right on. Well, Vinny, we appreciate you taking our time with us here to Punch the Face Radio. You've got Jason Brilz here September 26th, live on CBS Sports Network, Titan FC 30. Let the fans know where they can follow you on social media and keep tabs on what you got going on.
Well, they can find me on Twitter and on Instagram, which is VinMMA. It's at VinMMA. And then also on Facebook, they just have to type my name, which is Vinny Magalhaes, VINNY, Magalhaes. And it's a little bit too hard to find me. I have the easiest last name in the sport, so they'll find me.
Very easy to find. And definitely give a shout out and thank you to the sponsors who help you getting ready and prepared here for your fight here next month.
I would like to say just thank my sponsors, Asopure, Lil Doyer, and Cauliflower Culture. They're going to be supporting me for these fights. I'm still working on other sponsors for these fights, but these are my main guys, and I just want to thank them for helping me out for this fight and in my whole career.
Absolutely, I definitely like what Cauliflower Culture is doing. They're really making a big push and big move here in MMA. So I definitely like what they got going on right now. But Vinny, best of luck here again. September 26th, Titan FC 30, Jason Brilz for the inaugural light heavyweight championship. Best of luck, man, and we appreciate you taking out time with us here on Punch the Face Radio.
Thanks a lot. Thank you for the chance.
All right, thank you.
I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.